Hello, everyone. I am Rachel Augusta, and I work with animals all over the world who are sick, injured, diseased, have cancer, perhaps a serious injury, are recovering from past trauma, or maybe just suffering with old age. And today I am speaking with Tori of Space Cat Academy, who I met this last summer in Chicago at the Meow Meetup. And we bonded quite quickly because we both love cats. We love cats, and Tori's work in this world is just really super awesome. She is a dog and cat trainer based out of Madison, Wisconsin. She has always loved animals from the start. Growing up with all different types of animals has shaped who she is today. She has trained everyone from fish to yaks, and she owns an online cat training and behavior consulting business called Space Cat Academy. Tori's interests are in behavior, nutrition, and enrichment. By focusing on the animal as a whole, Tori has a broad yet targeted perspective when training animals and building strong bonds between pets and their guardians. She shares her life with her Central Asian Shepherd dog, Nikita, and her 3 cats, Peach, Elliot, and Violet. Hello, Tori.
Hello. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
This is so much fun. And I really do love your work in the world. And I know, a little bit about it, but I'm excited to hear more, and I'm excited to share it as part of this Women Holding Women series with the women in my membership site, and then later, with everybody else on the YouTube. So,
Sure.
So how did you get into should we talk about clicker training first?
Whatever you want. We could talk about clicker training first.
Yeah. Let's talk about clicker training first, because that was I was like super fascinated by, and I got to see you in action with it actually at the Meow Meetup.
Oh yeah. I got bloodied up on that one. Those kittens were super eager.
They're like, ah, yeah, it was so awesome. And it was really cool to watch you with these kittens who were up for adoption, like really quickly form a bond with you and start to interact with you in a way that would help them get adopted. So how did you get into clicker training?
Sure. And I do want to point out those kittens, over the course of the weekend, Julie Poslins from Cat School and I were able to train these kittens to roll over, high five, sit, and do a bunch of things. And on Saturday morning, we rolled into that room and we just picked out some kittens that liked our treats. And by the end of the weekend, they were coming up to us and purring and wanted to be held. And so it's amazing how it transforms them. So clicker training cats, do you want me to start on how or why?
How about both? Just whatever comes naturally.
How, why? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure people, this is one thing, and I know you've talked about this and you address it on your site, and, and I'm sure people listening would be like, well, why would you clicker train a cat? And are you exploiting them, like forcing them, is it like the circus getting them to jump through hoops?
Sure.
And really kind of like, let's speak to that, to break through some of those myths that it's a form of exploitation, because that's not at all what it is. It's quite the opposite. And
absolutely.
So why don't you just jump into that, whatever feels natural?
Yeah. So for the cat aspect, it's interesting because we, like you were saying, we always think of cats as being these independent creatures who just want to do their own thing, who don't want to hang out with us, kind of like the too cool for school kind of thing.
So not true.
My cat's
not true. Right here. Yeah, they're in your business.
Oh,
as much as they can be. Yeah.
There's a reason why mine are locked away. This is my newly adopted kittens. They were exiled because they're all over the place. But the reason, if we think of cats as being that way, of course, we can kind of look at them and see it fit our personification of them. But when you start working with them, you start seeing that there's so much more to them than just, the lazy, destructive, or whatever kind of other
independent.
All of those things. And research has shown that some cats prefer us and our interaction with them over food even. So, that's a huge thing, because we think of, oh, they only want to interact with me when, I'm
and I
feeding
have
them.
food. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's more than just about the food for them. It's about the social interaction. They love to be with their people. They love to be interacting with you. And play is great. Petting is great. But them even just watching them figure out how to use their brain in a way that they've never done it before and that we've never seen it done before, is fascinating for both them and us. It keeps them going. I did a training session earlier today with the newbies, and they crashed afterwards. So it exercises them mentally, physically, improves the bond between you and your cat. And I get people who say, well, I don't need to train a cat, for them to love me or for me to love them. And no, you don't. You absolutely do not have to. But I found that working with Peach and now the new ones, she's the one who initiated it. She and I'm sure we'll get into this later about Peach and everything, but Peach is a cat that I found on the side of the road, all mangled and everything. And she was sitting in my bathroom for a couple weeks in quarantine a couple years ago, and she was miserable. She just, was crying to get out and everything. And so we started training, because that's what comes naturally to me. And she loved it. She started hanging out in her training spot. There's a certain area where we train, and she hangs out there all the time. And so she wanted it just as much as I did. And it's just great to see her blossom in that way. She knows probably over 50 tricks at this point. And
wow. Did that help her integrate into your house?
Yeah, absolutely. The other aspect of clicker training that people don't think of is how you can use it to solve problem behaviors. And, whether it is destructive scratching or knocking things off the table or waking you up in the middle of the night or early in the morning, clicker training really has its place, even counter surfing and everything. So teaching them alternative positive behaviors to their more annoying ones is the way I like to put it.
Okay, so you mentioned cats waking you up in the middle of the night or super early in the morning. How could clicker training prevent them from doing that?
Sure. So there's this cool cycle that has to do with satiating your cat's needs. So it's hunt, catch, groom, and sleep. So the way that it goes, of course, we're not just going to let him out of the house and go kill a bunch of endangered birds or something, but hunt translates to play or training, because a lot of times cats see the training as, the same kind of interaction as they would, whether it's attaining, it's kind of just in another way of attaining food. So instead of hunting that bird, you are hunting for a treat. It might be doing a certain behavior, putting your body in a certain position, whether it's a sit or a spin or something crazier. They do that and they get food. So they play, they train, and then they get a treat afterwards, and then they groom themselves, and then they fall asleep. And if you do that right before you go to bed, you change the way that you change their sleep cycle, essentially, and they stay in bed later, or they fall asleep at the same time that you do.
This is amazing because a ton of people come to me and want me to do sessions on their cat to get them, to not wake them up in the middle of the night. And I'm like,
sure,
that's not going to work. Like you might as well take that money to a casino and, like it's not going to work, because that's like me telling the cat, you can't be a cat.
Sure.
So,
exactly.
That's like, I can't, just in the same way that you can't tell a toddler, you would never say, don't be a kid, don't play.
Exactly.
So you have to redirect them. And that's what clicker training is doing. You're not saying, you can't wake me up in the middle of the night. You're saying, we're going to get the zoomies and the crazies out of you before we go to bed.
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
because you're going to do it no matter what. So let's do
Yeah.
it at this
Oh,
hour instead
yeah.
of that hour.
Exactly. Even
Yeah.
feeding them later. And so if you feed your cat, twice a day or something like that, and it's not right before you go to bed, training is a perfect opportunity, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever your cat wants. Peach will train forever. She has endless energy, but not every cat is that way. And so you might get 5 minutes for the older or lazier cats, if you will. And getting that little snack promotes the next step, which is grooming and then sleeping. So
Yeah, so that's brilliant. That's really, really brilliant. So, after I watched you in Chicago do clicker training, I was like, this is amazing. Like, I want to learn this for, sugar pants. And then I want to be able to be knowledgeable enough on it so that I can recommend it to my clients, so that
sure.
when clients come to me and they're like, my cat is waking me up in the middle of the night, I can be like, you need to get in touch with Space Cat Academy because I don't want to be the person to help you. Tori can, but I know where to send you. And so
Sure.
anyway, I started this with sugar pants, and admittedly, I've been bad about follow through, but it was funny. She was picking up on it really quickly, but I started to see different sides to her personality that were hilarious.
Oh,
So
sure.
yeah, so the wand, I wish I had it here, but it's a wand, and you can, trying to figure out how to explain this to people. Anyway, it's a wand,
It's
and
called a target stick.
the target stick. Yes, so the
Yes.
target stick. So you want the cat to walk to it and tap their nose to it, and then they get a treat. Well, she did that, and then she learned, like, well, I can take it with my paw. And so she took
Oh.
the stick and then brought it to her nose. I was like, that's kind of cheating. I mean, it's
That's
work,
creative.
but that's super. I was like, wow, you really are kind of lazy. And so I was like, wow, that's hilarious. And
Sure, yeah.
yeah, and I started seeing too, like, if I got her to walk in circles, she did the first time. And then the second time she was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Did you just make me walk in a circle? And she was like, I can't believe this. And she huffed off, and then she'd come back, but she really likes it. And I've since have left town and, have had babysitters come who wanted to practice with her, and she
Oh,
was
sure.
picking up on it right away with them. And it was really great.
Nice. And that's another interesting point that you brought up is having your pet sitters do it is um, even just having guests at your house. By having a clicker trained cat, it kind of softens that initial distrust of the people. So they have something else to do besides kind of scour, or, kind of skeptically look at the people coming.
And I love, they have something else to do besides scour. And you're like,
they can do a high five with that person. They could do a high five with you. So you're doing something with them that's engaging, and then your guest is less likely to come up and bombard them with petting and holding if they don't like that. Or if you have one of the bold cats, they will just go up and start high-fiving your guests. And I mean, sure, that's cool too.
awesome. Do any of your cats do that?
They do high five people. They love to high five me.
Mm-hmm.
They will do all sorts of things for attention, and that's one of the reasons why I clicker train all the time. Is especially Peach, but Elliot is also getting in on it now. We've had them about a month, and it's
A work in
their
progress.
personalities are really coming through, and so we've been training to kind of curb some of the enthusiasm into a different way. Instead of scratching the carpet, we now are trained to scratch a post.
And you did that through clicker training?
Did that through clicker training, yeah. So every time he scratches the carpet or a couch or something, I replace it with an appropriate thing, like a scratching post, or I'll walk him over to those little cardboard scratchers are easily movable, so I put them everywhere. And whichever one he's closest to, I might kind of scratch at it with my finger, or I might put him on top of it. And as soon as he scratches that, I click that, and then I give him a treat, or I might play with him. And what that turns into is now he will do it for attention. He'll walk over to the scratcher, scratch it, and look at me. And I always reward it because it's better than the alternative of scratching furniture. And even if you see your cat choosing the correct place to scratch, I also click that, and I'm ready to go with some treats just on my counter or something. So I'll click and toss a treat over to him.
That's awesome. I was wondering how you would get somebody out of doing a behavior you don't like, is you reward them with the one that they do like, and then that just becomes a natural thing for them. And that's awesome because, the thing is like, sadly, a lot of cats are given up and put in shelters because they scratch inappropriate things.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. That and inappropriate urination are some of the two biggest ones. I recently worked with a Bengal cat who he was rehomed twice because of urinating outside the litter box. His issue had to do with declawing. And the thing that fixed it was giving him different litter. Like, how crazy? How crazy is that? All he needed was different litter and to be rewarded when he peed.
Yeah. I just worked up at the Wildcat I was up at the Wildcat Sanctuary in northern Minnesota, which is the largest in the United States. And they have lions and tigers and lynx and bobcats. And they also have bobcats, but they have Bengals because people get rid of them because they pee outside the litter box. And actually I was talking to the woman who runs the sanctuary, and she's like, the thing about Bengals is that, they're very territorial. And so a lot of them have been, but people want them because they're a Bengal. And so they end up in and out of shelters. Some of them, she was like, this one cat, he's been in and out of homes and shelters 9 times. And so I took him and he's here now. And so, so part of that is the Bengal, it's territorial for them, but so changing the litter helped, but then you also rewarded the good behavior because they're so smart. Cats are so smart.
Yeah. He was picking up on stuff with me in the first 5 minutes of the session. And I do want to mention about the cat that was rehomed 9 times. If you think about it, cats are so affected by stress. And so rehoming 9 times, part of that is just the stress of being in a new place, and that just perpetuates all the urination outside the litter box.
Totally. I completely agree. Yeah, and that's why she's like, I'm not doing this. Yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. He's staying here at the sanctuary with me. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So how did you reward? So talk us through that, rewarding him with the litter.
Yeah. So when you see them using the, kind of like with the scratching, when you see them using the appropriate place to go, you're going to click that and treat it. And then they start saying, okay, well, this gets me something. This means something to my people. And of course, there's all other management things that go into it, like changing the litter and different, putting it in places that they want, or depth, or all of those things go into it as well. But a piece of it is rewarding the behaviors that you want to see. Humans are fantastic at saying no to everything. Don't jump, don't go on the counter, don't pee here, don't scratch that, don't this, don't that. But we never tell the cat what we do want.
I know, my God. I teach this so much because, that's exactly it. What do you want? You can't say you can't be a cat. You can't be a toddler. I don't want you to do this. You can do this.
Exactly. It's like if I put you in a room, and if you went to the left, I said no. And you went and tried to open a drawer, and I said no. And I just kept saying no to every movement that you did and never told you what I wanted. And be like, what are you telling me to do? And that's basically it.
Totally. It makes me laugh. So I watered my plants yesterday, and this plant ended up with a lot of water, and because I kind of suck at that. So anyway, Sugar Pants, my cat, walked over. I saw her like 10 minutes later. She's like, nom, nom, nom. And she starts licking. I was like, no, you can't do that. And you can't lick out of that pot. And then I was like, but you can use your water in the kitchen.
Sure,
That's
exactly.
where you should be drinking your water from. And I saw she was
Yep.
like, and she totally did a and then walked away, went to the kitchen. And people are like, well, for anybody listening that's like, cats don't know what you're saying, they don't speak the English.
Yeah.
Well, animals are highly telepathic, and everything we think and we say, we create an image for in our brain. It's just we're doing it very quickly. We're not aware of it, but they're reading those images. So they do see when we're saying, don't do that, don't do that. And what I've witnessed, I'm sure you'll agree, is saying no makes those behaviors way, way worse.
Oh, yeah. So what ends up happening is, say that, and this is a fantastic example of this, is you have a cat that knocks your glass of water or whatever it is off the table. And you say, no, oh my God, you just broke my favorite mug or whatever. Now it's all over the place. And, and then the cat does it again. And you say, no, oh my God. And you make this huge deal about it. And, they keep doing it. Well, now they're just doing it to get a rise out of you. And it's not spiteful. It's not, it's not malicious. It's literally, this is how I get attention. Now, in some ways that can be kind of sad where, in this world, we're so busy all the time, and it's no fault of our own in many cases, but it's, your cat is literally asking for attention by doing a destructive behavior or by pushing something off or by getting you to say no to them. And if you can transform that into, okay, instead of pushing the bottle off the table, you go over to your training spot and you sit, and that's how they ask for attention. That's such a better way to ask for attention. And then you're not pissed that your favorite mug is broken, and they can get the attention they want without having to be, scolded all the time. And it's a win-win.
Totally. I mean, yeah, I totally love that. And Sugar Pants has a box from Cat Toy Theater. It's a cardboard box, but it's decorated, so it looks pretty and it looks good sitting in the middle of the living room. And it has all these holes in it. We put our toys in it. And if I'm had a particularly long work day, or I've just been busy, that box gets shaken up so much. She's like, wham, and she's like sliding across the floor, but like making eye contact with me while she's sliding across the floor. Like, did you just see what I just did? And I'm like, yeah, I know what's going on. Like, you are requiring so much play right now, and you're being annoying about it, but it's totally getting my attention, and it works.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I go over there and then I'm like, okay, let's sit here and play with your toys for a while. So yeah, it's like knocking the mug. Yeah, it's going to get your attention.
Yeah, especially when it's hanging halfway off your table. I mean, you're like, no, that slow-mo of going towards
They're like, I saw your face. Did you see mine? Should we do it again?
I want to see that expression. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'll have people over my house and, they'll at first be there, of course, to see all of Peach's things or, tricks or whatever, and they're interested in her. And then eventually, lo and behold, she's not the center of attention constantly, and that's a problem for her. And she starts doing kick flips off of my walls. She'll jump like 5 feet up the wall just to see like my guests be like, what is she doing? And I'm like,
she's
well, congrats, because you just reinforced it.
Totally. Yeah.
And how can you not?
Like, nobody look.
And there's no way not to. I mean, I think it's hilarious, and
right.
It gets a rise out of my guests, and so I don't really care that she does kick flips off my wall. But I mean, she'll do anything to get you to look at her.
Well, right. And that goes back to the original thing you were saying. Most people think that cats are these really independent creatures that don't want to be around you. And like, that could be further from the truth. Like, people who say that, I'm like, then you've never lived with a cat. Because like, they're on you and with you everywhere you are if you allow them to be in your space.
Absolutely.
And so
you never pee alone.
Right, exactly. You never pee alone. And so do people clicker train dogs as well?
Oh yeah. Yep, that's where it started. People actually clicker train clicker training had a similar, well, it kind of, there's always gonna, and I stutter on this one because there's always going to be someone who says, well, that's not where it started. And of course, but it came to fame largely from whistle training sea mammals. So dolphins, whistle training them for cooperative care things in zoos and stuff like that. So you can clicker train anything. I'm in a clicker training reptiles group. There's clicker training dogs, horses, really any kind of animal you can work with. Some are easier than others. Reptiles, sometimes, you have to take it a little slower, but definitely dogs. They learn quicker than in other methods I've found. So I always train with positive reinforcement methods, no harm to the animal, because it's for one, not necessary at all. You don't need to punish an animal to teach them something.
Agreed.
And but the compliance increases with positive reinforcement training, but using that clicker to tell them that they did the right thing instead of saying like, good boy. It's a consistent tone. And so every time you click, it's the same noise and you're a little bit punchier with it. So instead of kind of lagging and our brain kind of waiting for us after that busy day, our brain is mush and we say, good boy, like 5 seconds later, the click, we're usually like, okay, the butt hit the ground in that sit, click. Okay, good. And because of our better timing with the use of a clicker, they learn faster. And that goes for cats, dogs, horses.
Have you ever clicker trained a bunny, a rabbit?
I have not, but my niece is currently doing it right now.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, she's going to be 10 in January. And so she has 3 rabbits. I don't know who got her into those. Not me. But she's been clicker training with a target stick, actually. She has her rabbit Bugs touching the end of the target stick. Click.
That's really great.
It. Yeah.
That's really great. So, we've really been focusing on clicker training because I wanted to bring this up. I know you do other things as well, but with clicker training, is this something that, like, do you teach a class on clicker training?
I do. I have a free clicker training essentials guide on my website. And so you can get started right now for free. All you need is a clicker and some treats. If you don't have a clicker and you're like, wow, I really want to get started right now, you can get a pen and you click it and it makes a clicking sound and you can use one of those instead. So
awesome. Cool. We'll give information. I'll definitely include links and stuff, but what are some other things that you do at Space Cat Academy?
Sure. So we have a resource called Why Does My Cat Blank? And so why does my cat scratch the furniture? Why does my cat meow for their food? Why does my cat wake me up in the middle of the night? Why does my cat hiss? All of whatever behaviors. And we always take requests. So if anybody wants to know why their cat does blank, I will answer it. And if I don't know it, I will research it. So
what is one of the weirdest why does my cat questions you've gotten?
I have gotten, why does my cat go into the shower and scream? So
why does my cat go into the shower and scream?
Mm-hmm. So apparently a couple cats I've heard this from will go into the shower and they will yowl or they'll meow really loudly. And there's a couple theories.
Can I test my theory?
Sure.
I've never looked this up.
Yeah.
But I think it's because, like, we like to sing in the shower. the walls reverberate their sound and it makes them sound even louder and bigger. Is that why?
It totally could. I mean, I don't think any of us have the knowledge of getting into the cat's head to say why exactly you in particular are doing this, but there's a few theories. That could definitely be one. They like the way that they sound, or they're interested in how they're picking up that sensory information. the other thing is when they're doing that, do you go in and be like, why the hell are you in the shower screaming? And then that gets you attention.
That, yeah, that actually, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So at the Wildcat Sanctuary, actually, there is a lion there that, a lioness that howls whenever she finds a really good place to lay down. And she announces it to the whole sanctuary. And she's like, oh, and I noticed it. I was like, oh, who is that? And the guy, the keeper of the sanctuary, he's like, she found somewhere really awesome to lay down and wants us to know. I'm like, it's amazing. He's like, yeah, she'll take her pool, flip it over, dump all the water out, flip it over, and then lay on top, and then we'll announce it to everybody. This is really nice. I just want you to know. And so,
I fits, I sits, lion edition.
Yeah, totally. What is the most common question you get asked through that?
Well, I mean, they're all up on the website. So one of our biggest hits on analytics is, why does my cat trill?
Oh, yeah.
So they do that or that chirp kind of noise, and everybody wants to know why they do that. And
not all cats do it.
Not all cats do it. It's a social greeting.
Mm-hmm.
And they tend to do it when they're happy. Mm-hmm. And so they'll, Peach does it all the time. She comes up to me, and so does Violet. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, Sugar Pants is a triller too, but she uses her trills in all sorts of different ways. I can tell she has a trill for when she's kind of annoyed with me.
Oh.
And you can really hear it. It's like, or like she has a judgmental trill, like,
sure,
you're opening another bag of chips. And I'm like, don't judge me. But yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I love trills.
Me too. And in fact, this is a fun one. I really like the sound of cats that chatter. And so they do that like kind of chattering with their teeth when they see a bird or something. Yeah. Usually it's out of frustration, but I was like, well, can I teach Peach how to chatter? So I tried it. I suck at it. So I went on YouTube, and studies show that that cats are enriched by watching birds or things on, a screen. So I showed Peach a bunch of videos of cats chattering at birds, and then I set her in front of the window, and she started doing it, and I started clicking it. And then she got rewarded for chattering, and then she started doing it more often because that got her something that she wanted. And so now we have full conversations in chatters where she'll come from around the corner out of the bedroom, and she'll look me directly in the eyes and do that like, and I'll do it back at her. And we have this whole chatter. I chatter. She chatters. I chatter. She chatters. And it's this whole like, I don't know what we're saying to each other, but it's I
had to plug my nose. So is your boyfriend like, what?
Oh no, he does it too.
Oh, okay.
In fact, we do it at the dinner table all the time, and he'll turn around, and when he turns and looks at her, she starts chattering at him. It's super amusing.
I want to be invited to a dinner party.
Yeah, anytime.
Not that far. You're just one state over.
There you go.
That is amazing.
We also like cooking, so
that's amazing. I love all the chattering. That's awesome. So how long have you been, like, when did Space Cat Academy really come to be?
Sure. So Space Cat Academy it's been a couple years now. We found Peach on the side of the road a little over 2 years ago. And actually it will be 2. Yeah. So we're still pretty new. I've been dog training for years before that, and I've been clicker training dogs for years before that. But the cat aspect of things started after we found Peach. So we moved to Wisconsin a couple years ago from New Jersey. Rob got a job here, and so I can train dogs anywhere. So we did that whole thing. So we moved out, and we were getting kind of a lay of the land, and we had been checking out to the right of this one particular intersection, and I was like, sunsets to the west, let's go over there. And so we went a different way than we usually go, and we went up into these kind of rural farmy areas and everything, and all of a sudden it was getting dark, and this little orange fluff ran across the road. And so I was like, okay, well, gotta go check that out. So I always have dog treats on me. Our dog was with us, and I got out, and there was this little emaciated, mangled looking kitten. And Peach was bold from the start. So, of course, most kittens would just kind of leave, and she probably was a little bit too weak to really do that. But she started taking treats from me, and she started getting closer and closer. And after, a couple minutes, I was able to scoop her up, and I brought her in the car. Of course, the one time that I cleaned my car out. So I had like a sweatshirt and a paper bag. Nothing to hold a kitten. So I just kept her on my lap, and she needed my lap and purred the whole way home. And I'm all about, good food. So I was like, oh God, like the holistic pet store is closed now. I was like, we'll just go to the grocery store. We'll get her some, crap for tonight. Hopefully she makes it the night.
Right.
And she did. She definitely made it the night.
Now she's an ambassador for clicker training.
Yeah, she was the first cat to get her expert trick cat title from a dog trick organization.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's only 2 others that have that title the last time I checked in the world.
Damn, go Peach, go.
Yeah,
that is so cool. You'll have to share a picture with me for me to post.
Oh yeah. She went from rags to riches, definitely.
Yeah. So talk to us more about your work with dogs. Like, what are some of the most common reasons people come to you with dog issues? And then also, do you work with dogs, behavior issues with, like, do you work with local people only, or do you help people all over the place?
So mainly I work with local people. I do general dog training with a company called Dog's Best Friend here in Madison. It was started by Dr. Patricia McConnell. And my focus, because of my experiences with my dog, has kind of shaped me into liking to work with these dogs, and kind of it being my specialty. I work with reactive dogs a lot. So dogs who are not really fans of other dogs.
Okay, I was gonna say, I know what you're talking about, but for people who might not know what that means, reactive. So, like, how would you define a reactive dog?
It depends. The most common reaction from a dog that you'll see is barking, lunging, growling. In the more severe cases, biting. And so I work with a lot of those dogs. I work with some separation anxiety clients. I work with basic obedience stuff. And one of my other specialties, which is my fun specialty, is nose work, which is teaching the dog or cat, because I also have cat nose work class, a cat nose work class on Space Cat Academy. But you teach them a target scent, and then they go and they find that scent, whether it be in a room, in a cluster of boxes and containers, shoes, wherever I put it.
Okay, so I have a pretty good sense of why you would want to do that with a dog. Is it like helping train them for, police dogs and stuff do that, right?
It's similar.
But why would you do that? Why are you doing that with dogs? Are you helping train police dogs? And why would you do that with a cat? I'm curious.
Yeah. So with dogs, I do it with pet dogs, and it's great mental enrichment. Here, as we all know, in Wisconsin, it gets super cold sometimes. And
in Minnesota, and right.
And so about 10-15 minutes of nose work is like the same mental energy as going for a 10-15 minute walk. And so when it's super cold and you can't bring your dog out, or if it's super hot, depending where you are, you can do this inside, and it works their brain, it gives them some exercise, and then they're tired afterwards. So again, kind of with the destruction, or whether your dog is bored and just barks at you, or whether they rip stuff up, or they just look like they're bored. It gives them something to do. I find it super fascinating to watch. I compete in the sport with my dog, and so it is a competitive dog sport as well. So some people want to learn it to then go and compete with their dogs. Some people want to learn it just to see that their dog's nose in action, because it's super crazy. It is said that they can sniff out dogs can sniff out a drop of blood diluted amongst 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So, yeah.
I mean, I know dogs have amazing noses,
Yep.
but that, like, being that visual is crazy.
So, yeah. And so I teach them the birch. I teach dogs the birch scent, because that's the first scent that you need to know. It's birch, tree birch, essential oil, sweet birch, it's called. It's an essential oil, and you take 1 drop of that and to maybe 30 half Q-tips, and then you put one of those half Q-tips in a hide, then you hide it wherever you want. And so you, of course, have to train the dog with, boxes or something a little bit more obvious at first. But, I'm in my office right now, and I typically will hide, the birch in here somewhere. And then I just release my dog into the room, and she will find it. And I do the same thing with Peach. So same thing with dogs and cats. Mental, physical energy that they're burning while they're doing it. It's enriching to them to find something. And when they find the scent, birch means nothing to them on its own, just like the sound of a clicker means nothing to them on its own. But when you pair it with food, it becomes exciting. And so, especially with nose work, we use super, super high value treats. So I'll make like a whole chicken or something, and then I keep some for them, and they get like their mind blown with whatever leftover salmon, whatever
something that they would really, really want.
Exactly. And that also satisfies some of the hunting ability too, of finding something.
Right. Well, my sister has 2 rescue Great Danes that one is pretty much blind. The other has visual issues, but they're both deaf. And so I think this would be a really good way for them to play and interact in the house, because their noses, of course, still work really, really well.
Sure. Probably almost even, they rely on it much more. Yeah. In my classes, I teach in-person dog training classes, and my nose work class, I've had, 2 one-eyed dogs. I've had a blind and deaf dog. I've had a blind dog. I've had a few 3-legged dogs. So I get all the ones with the missing parts, or the parts not working, and they excel. They're fantastic at nose work, and it gets me super really cool. Jazzed.
and cats want to do it for the same reason. It's just really. And what's the scent? Usually the scent you use for cats?
So cats are a little bit more sensitive sometimes to essential oils. So I talked to a couple vets about it, and I got the clearance for the ones that I'm using, because I want to make sure it's safe for them.
Yep.
I use cedarwood oil.
Oh, hello. I think you froze. Can you hear me?
By it as well.
Oh, you froze just when you said that. So you use cedarwood and what?
Yep. So I use cedarwood oil, and it has a calming effect to it too. So
I use essential oils in my practice with animals, but therapeutic grade, really good oils, nothing crazy from Walmart or off of Amazon. So, so you use cedarwood, and what's the other one?
Birch is what I use for dogs. So
dogs. So cedarwood for cats, birch for dogs.
You
Okay.
could do other things. You could do lavender. You could do really any oils that you're using for your animals on a regular basis. Well, I shouldn't say that. Let me back up. I use cedarwood as well because it's novel and it's not like vanilla where you're going to have a bunch of candles in your house
Yeah,
or
totally.
something like that.
Yeah, that's totally true. So what's interesting is when my sister first adopted their first dog who has vision issues and can't hear, they were trying to get a way for her to come back to them
Sure.
at dog park,
Yep.
always come back. Or what if, like, I want a smell, and I actually said you should use an essential oil that she can smell on you, that you don't,
Sure.
that is not common, that you don't use all over the place. And
Yeah.
we agreed on copaiba.
Sure.
And so she would hold that in her pocket, and when she'd come back,
Oh,
she could
sure.
smell the copaiba. So
That's a super
unknowingly
interesting way to do
smell.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And she's, lives in Washington. They've since have had some training, as you need it when you have a big dog and when
Sure.
they're deaf and, have vision problems. But that was one of our first methods. And I've had people come to me, their animals are seniors, and they're like, my dog used to tap on the door to let me know that she needed to go to the bathroom, but now she can't see where the door is. And I'm
Oh,
like,
sure.
take a little bit of lavender oil and just rub it on the door so she can smell her way and go, oh, that's where the door
Yep.
is that leads me outside. I know to tap
It's
on that.
sure. That's a fantastic. I love that. I love using alternative ways for everything. I mean, that's really what clicker training is too. And I love it. I love using alternative methods for dogs with, different abilities and everything. So,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. It's also a great one. A lot of people like doing agility with their dogs, and a lot of people, do different activities with them. And as they
Mhm.
get older, can't do it as often or can't,
Right.
the joints and nose work is a really low impact
Right. Well,
thing.
that's awesome. I love that. So, the next question I'm about to ask you, it might be too big to answer, but I'm just curious, like, if you can answer it, like reactive dogs, humans can make, as we know, humans can make things way better or they can make things way worse.
Sure.
Is there something that humans tend to do when they have a reactive dog that makes the situation worse?
Yeah. There's as an overall umbrella answer, yes, we do tons of things that make it worse. And I have a reactive dog and she has gotten so much better. Her threshold went from over 300 feet away where she would see a dog and immediately start getting stressed to now she's probably 10 feet away. She'll look at a dog and casually look away.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
And by nature, I tend to be a little bit more on the anxious side, and that definitely didn't help her.
Mm-hmm.
And once I was able to take a deep breath and be like, no, it's gonna be okay, she started taking the deep breath with me.
Oh my gosh. I love that you said that, because I'm not a behavioralist, and people come to me for behavioral stuff all the time. And I'm like, nope, that's not what I do. I help animals who are really sick, or if they have trauma, which is different
Sure.
than reactive. It's different. If you have trauma, is its own ball game, right? But I always send people to behavioralists because I'm like, the human needs to be coached. Like the
Sure.
human's the
Yeah.
one who needs a lot more of the coaching actually than the animal,
Yeah. They need to
the
know
dog.
how to
Respond
to the situation.
totally. And one of the things is what you said, which is key, is that you took a deep breath, you relaxed yourself, and then you said, it's going to be okay. And
Mhm.
that, instead of saying, it's not scary, it's not scary. And I'm like, what does it's not scary mean? Like, that is a
Sure.
very confusing image. Or like, no one's going to hurt you. That's also kind of
Yeah.
confusing. You kept it in the positive instead of
Sure.
speaking in negatives, which humans love to do. So I love that that was your first, we're both going to be okay. We're
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
And a lot of people, even just from there's tons of bad information on the internet of different training methods, and that is one of the things that doesn't help. I started out with kind of in the quote unquote balance training. And my dog was a couple years old before I switched to purely positive methods. And all it did is make her threshold bigger, because the theory with them and the balanced methods is anytime she's starting to get alert, they get alert, and if they're starting to tense up, sometimes people give corrections, like a popping of their collar or something. And all that's doing is
stressing them out even more.
It just stresses them out. Yeah. And so now every time you see a dog, you're stressed. So I do the opposite, which is reward for calm behavior, reward what I want to see, the calm behavior around dogs. And people tend to push it too fast, far too fast, too soon. And they want their dog to be really close to that dog. Well, your dog is not comfortable in that space. So you have to start where they are comfortable. And it's kind of like an ebb and flow. You get a little bit closer, and that might be a little bit more pressure for your dog. And this might still be 200 feet away or something. But, you might go 200 feet away, and then you might go 210 feet away, and
right.
Their threshold might be 150. So, you're always staying outside of when they're stressed. So you want them to always be calm, because as we know, stress hormones don't do anything positive for, to the body.
Has a lot of disease. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so then then you reward at that space.
Yeah. Reward when they're calm, when they're looking at the dog. There's tons of tools that you can use, and there's ways of getting your dog out of situations like, oh no, someone just turned around the corner. Well, let's get more room from those people or dogs or whatever your dog is stressed by.
Yeah. Awesome. So, you have a podcast as well, right?
Yes, I co-host a podcast called Cat Sci Podcast with researcher Dr. Kristen Vitale. Mm-hmm. So we work on that together, and we are debunking all of the myths that people have. So our first one was why train a cat, and now we're working on I cannot speak right now. An enrichment one.
Cool.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I will post links to that as well. And then do you have a podcast for dogs? I can't remember.
Yeah. So I'm also involved with Primitive Dogs. Mm-hmm. And that's the category of landrace breeds or other breeds that were around before the big push of creating breeds in the Victorian era. Mm-hmm. And so all of those Japanese breeds and breeds from Africa and the Middle East and different things like that. And so we have the Couch Wolves podcast and couchwolves.com too.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll give links to everything. And if people want to clicker train with you or just go more into your world, they just need to go over to Space Cat Academy and then can learn that and kind of dive into your world and listen to your podcast. You do train dogs, but you like to stay in the general area of Madison for that.
Yep. For that. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless they're primitive dogs, then I can expand. So,
really?
Yep.
It just makes a big difference?
No, it's just for company policy.
Basically. Oh, right. Okay. So. I hear you on that. That's awesome. Well, this has been so enlightening and so much fun. I just love you and loved meeting you at the Meow Meetup, and you're headed out this week to travel pretty much all over the United States.
Yes. Yeah. Well, at this point we're trying. But yep. So this week we're going to Popcats in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, so. That's going to be a lot of fun. Have you ever been to Portland? I can't remember. I know I asked that.
That's one of 5 states that I have left to see, so I get to check one off.
Yep, I love Portland. It's so much fun. Actually, the last time I stayed there, I stayed in an Airbnb, and it was this really cute cob house.
Ooh. Ooh.
and that they had made, and it was just really like quaint and beautiful. But they had a tuxedo cat
Oh, that's
who,
awesome.
yeah, he was like, "This is my house. Open the door," and he would have us open the door, and he would come in, and he was like, "Okay, just checking things out. All right, okay, it's good. I'm ready to go." And I was like, "Oh my God, are you gonna do ins and outs with us here? This would be amazing." So
That's so funny. We're
yeah.
gonna be in an Airbnb too. I wonder if they will have a cat there.
Probably. I feel like Portland's one of those cities that just has a lot of cats.
Sure.
Yeah.
Madison is another one of those. We have all sorts of good cat stuff here.
Yeah. Yeah. So awesome. Well, thank you so much. And everybody, all of Tori's information is going to be in the links, and you'll know how to find her. And I encourage you to do clicker training so that you can tell me all your clicker training tricks and inspire me to keep clicker training with Sugar Pants. And until next time, bye.